Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. My name is Agnes van Rhijn, and I'm a life and business success mentor to female entrepreneurs and small business owners who want to be successful, whatever that means to them, but on their own terms. Today at the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, it is my privilege to be interviewing Suparna Malhotra. Suparna is a highly qualified and effective executive coach with over 15 years international experience. Her specialty is in supporting professional women develop their unique leadership identity, foster positive relations with peers, and cultivate authentic decision-making in all aspects of their careers. After working with her on a one-on-one basis, her clients report increased confidence, success in their roles, particularly in the areas of navigating key transition stages in their career, strategic decision-making, talent management, and leadership development. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. How are you, Suparna?
Thank you for having me, Agnes. I'm very well.
I'm very pleased to have you because it happens once in a while that I'm interviewing a guest that I know absolutely nothing about. But you've been recommended to me by one of my previous guests. So obviously I wanted to know more. So tell us more about you.
Well, where to begin? So as you so lovely, so rightly said, I am a coach for particularly professional women. And I realize, a lot of men do say to me, why women?
Oh, and, I have that.
It's one of those things. And for me, it used to be, because women need more help. But actually, it's not about that women need more help. It's that women have a lot more of a labyrinth to navigate in the corporate world and to achieve the career success that the men do. And for a woman to get to a position, say, of the CEO or a C-suite level or a leadership position, it takes longer. And it's just a little bit harder than it is for men. So that's one of the reasons I work with purely women. But there are many other reasons. I support, children, girls' education. I used to have a podcast of my own for many years around gender-based violence. And I realized that the whole reason that this happens is because of the gender pay gap and the inequality that exists in the world. So I feel this is my space to make a difference.
I love that. Sounds once more like music to my heart. I must say that on top of it, what I used to say also is that I just love working with women. It's not that I don't like working with men. I love working with women. So, and there are tons of other reasons behind it. So if we will rewind back a bit your story, how did you come to all of that? You can start wherever you want, but has there been any form of, starting point? I've always dreamed about this or whatever. What was it?
Actually, I didn't know what I dreamed about. When I went to university and I studied sociology and political science and an MBA and got into jobs because I can talk. I always started into sales jobs and business development jobs, not having any idea what I wanted to do. And I thought that the things I wanted to do, which was it would never make enough money for me to live. And so I spent my life actually exploring what I might want to do. And I tried a number of things. I went to law school for a year and decided that was not for me. I thought maybe teaching was the thing. And then I decided to quit my job about 7 years ago, quit the corporate world and went freelance. And I did a number of different freelance jobs, mainly in social media and marketing. And then I ended up doing a freelance job in HR because I have an MBA background. And I found that it was a very natural fit for me. It felt very aligned. I met a coach and I thought, that's an interesting one to have on my tool belt. Let me try that out. I've always wanted to work with people and help people. And I trained. I went to New York to the Coaches Training Institute, and I trained, and it became my life, my career, so to speak. So it was a bit of a winding road, and it's landed me right smack where I want to and need to be at this time.
So one of the interesting things to dig deeper into is this: how did you ultimately find that this was the right thing to do for you? Because a lot of women have that. They want something, they don't know what, and or they have that nagging feeling, whatever, and then, oh yes, but I don't know what. So you tried certain things, but what helped you identify that this was the right thing for you to do?
Well, this is something I work with a lot of clients with as well, because they're not sure which way they go, and there's a crossroad, and you can go either this way or that way, and there's so many reasons why they could go either way. And for me, it actually was about sitting there with a clean slate. When I came back from New York after my training, I decided, okay, I'm a coach. I've got to make this happen. What am I going to do? And I started to talk to people. And I got a few different freelance jobs, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to work in the not-for-profit sector, because I do a lot of work in the not-for-profit sector. For example, I coach young people in prisons, life coaching them. And
I want us to talk about that also.
Yeah, and I work with some women's charities as well, and I thought perhaps that was what was going to be my calling, and so I tried many different jobs, and all of them, and then I had this podcast, and all of them had a similar theme of coming up, like doing all of them at the same time. It emerged that actually this was my place, the executive coaching, the women leaders, because I loved it. I got a lot from it. We give to our clients, but we also I learned so much from our clients as well, and it's an amazing feeling, relationship, and I loved it, and I loved how it developed me as I developed them or helped them develop as well. And so I'm originally from India, and I love to see how the women in India, in the professional world, look after themselves and empower themselves. And so this is a real theme for me, and that's how I came to it, to be honest. And it was not because I sat up one day and I thought, this is what I want to do, this is my dream. It was a process of trying things out, and through those trials, something emerged that actually matched up with my interests, such as trying to understand how to eliminate gender-based violence from the world, how to enhance equality in the world.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So for the viewers, it's not always just about waking up with a dream and pursuing that dream. Sometimes it's also just by, as Suparna just so beautifully describes it, testing things, trial and error, adapting, and from there progressively finding your way. It took me 8 years to realize that I didn't love at all being an executive coach. I've been in executive coaching for 8 years, and leadership development, change management, etc. But I don't like the corporate world environment. So that's why I've ended up choosing to work with entrepreneurs instead, and that works far better for me. But again, it's trial and error, and I think it's also identifying in that process how we can be cheating with ourselves also, because we can be pretty good at that also.
100%.
Is that something you've experienced yourself as well?
Oh yes, absolutely. I think that one of the biggest things that happened to me was that I started training as a coach. And while training as a coach, I discovered so many things about myself that I had probably laid to rest. I'd forgotten over the years, and I'd forgotten what my real true strengths were, where my real innate qualities were, that I really, again, I work with a lot with my clients as well to wake that up, and what my real desires were, and to match that up with, the reality of situation of paying bills and living the kind of lifestyle that you might want. So yeah, it is a lot to do with reconnecting with oneself. And it doesn't just happen the one time, you reconnect with that, and then we evolve as well. So things change, and our interests change, and and things progress.
Absolutely.
So that's just change is a constant. That's just the way it is. And I made it a principle to go with what I feel, and it does connect in the end. But it is true to be able to connect oneself to that is the important part. One of the important.
So, yes, I'm definitely fascinated about alignment and authenticity and stuff like that, being true to yourself. In that process, what did you find most challenging?
Whew, well, I think there were a lot of things that were challenging in that process, especially when it first began. And I think it was actually realizing that holding on to things that no longer serve me,
Yeah.
and having to let go of them, that was the difficult part. And that meant things that I thought I wanted. And it seems like a very easy thing to do, but it's not. If, most people, change is difficult for most people, and the letting go is hard for people
Yeah,
as
that's
well. And
definitely.
I found that very difficult to let go of those things. And, it's still, it's a constant. It's a constant. And there are always things to let go of. And I think that, understanding that, I was starting my own business. That was, I would say, challenging as well, because I had to let go of ideas that, when I used to work, I used to be at this level. That means I should be at this level right now from the start. It took me about a year and a half into the business to realize, actually, maybe that's not the way I need to change my thought process there. So though that's a bit difficult to adjust to as well. But in hindsight, I think that I wish I'd done that sooner. So, for example.
I've experienced those same things as well. I keep saying starting a business from your passion is not the same as running a business. And we don't always have the skills, and also that safety net that a corporate environment can bring us.
That's right.
You just make a call, and can your assistant come to do this or that for you? No, now you have to do it for yourself. Or I have a problem, I call the legal department, or whatever. No, you don't have all of that anymore. That's
yes.
that's
you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And may I say, so I want to add one more thing, actually, is asking for help. I don't know how you found that, but that was tough as well. Understanding that I had to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in particular, when you start your own business and you're alone in your business, as a woman, we don't necessarily like to ask for help. But on top of it, you're alone. Where do you ask for help, assuming you would want to? So it's that whole support environment also that's important to identify. So where did you find that support?
Oh my goodness. I'm very fortunate. I have support from all over the place. I mean, I have my own coach. I have, I've had friends who've helped out, my family, of course. Also in the beginning, it's as making cold calls and asking people through LinkedIn, I love what you do, and I wonder if you could help me, and ask them for coffee, even doing something like that, asking for help there. That was something that, I had to build my courage to as well. And just knowing that it's okay that I'm not 110% success from the get-go, that I have steps and stages to learn as well. That was, that's fine. I'm not perfect from the very start. So,
yeah, we keep peeling that onion.
Yes, definitely.
So what I find interesting in what you mentioned also, because it's not often being mentioned, and I've experienced the same, is that assuming you dare ask for help, which is not the case of everyone, as we mentioned, but it's important we do, is understanding that you do not necessarily need to find the help, A, with people you know, and B, it can be in the virtual world.
Yes.
You did mention LinkedIn in this case. I know that I have lived quite a long number of years in France, on top of it, geographically in a small village, so no one around me in the same type of areas. But on top of it, I was like, some kind of an UFO, because I really didn't have like-minded people around me. And I was living to that extent in a complete virtual world. I was looking for help and support only through internet, in fact, and it has been and proven largely to be extremely valuable. That's. I'm glad you mentioned that as well. I don't hear it often. I'd like to come back. Not come back. We didn't really discuss it, but the women you're working with, what would you say are their biggest challenges?
Well, so the women in the corporate settings that I work with, a lot of times they're, most of the time I would say it's the challenges I found is the confidence to, I mean, they're confident, which they go without saying, but it's not that kind of confidence. But every step, I always say, it takes confidence to take. So in dealing with peers, in dealing with, with a male environment sometimes, and also developing teams, because a lot of times they've been promoted into a more senior role and they have vast teams that I find that it's quite a challenge for them to have to understand how to be with them. And I have a couple of clients whose challenge is, in fact, I'm too confident. How do I curtail that so I have
interesting.
Yes, which is not so often. And I do have male clients, and I find very similar action points or goals that they come to me with as well, or objectives. So yeah, it's around dealing with people, and a lot of times it's about career progression, about understanding, am I in the right role, or do I need to look for something else? Is this what's going to make me happy? And many people say that when individuals get coaching, they quit their jobs. That hasn't happened for me yet so far. Thankfully, my clients find out that they actually are in the right jobs, and they learn to find their place and their voice within their roles, as in the position they've just taken on. So, did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, thank you. What you just mentioned about the overconfidence, it's interesting because I recently was at a conference where there was a panel of 8, so it was all about gender and the gender gap, etc. We weren't talking about violence then, but there were a panel of 8 women. Very obviously, 3 of them were, I would say, they had embraced more the masculine type of energy.
Right.
And now that you mention this, yes, I do remember that they were the ones that were overconfident. And when the others started talking about the self-imposed glass ceiling that women can have, the lack of self-confidence to take it to the further level, etc. Oh, no, they didn't have it. They didn't understand it even, etc. So it's your experience to that extent that it has to do with more masculine energy rather than having embraced the feminine energy, or what would you say? I'm curious.
Well, that's an interesting point about masculine and feminine energy, and that comes from thousands of years of describing us. And I would say the energy and qualities is what we're talking about. So something like confidence and aggression and perseverance and relentless. It's very much, those are described as masculine qualities. And so, yes, a lot of times we see that in politics, that many women need to embrace a more masculine ness about them, but to get ahead. Ruthlessness is described as a masculine quality. And I think that possibly it is about the energies, and it's also about upbringing. That some of these women say, well, I was told I was always the best, and not just upbringing, but their education and what they heard. They never saw any barriers. It's amazing how we have the subconscious media and the subconscious that goes into our being, that influences how we feel about ourselves and what, as we're growing up. And so I think it has to do with a lot of those things. And I think that it's the case that I'm talking about. It's not about having to become somebody to have gotten ahead, but it's because they just are the certain way. Their quality is that they say exactly what they need to say. They don't, fluff around. So they feel that they sometimes isolate their team members, possibly they're too direct. So that's what it might be as well. But I think, yes, you're right. In many cases, you do, women, when they get right to the top, it's quite lonely. There are not that many women still right at the very top. So they do need to embrace certain qualities. And that is a fact. I would say still to this day, it's in 2016.
Yeah, it's just funny because it's the balance between the two, in fact, because some women will be quote unquote not masculine enough, but at the other end you also have those women who, because they don't have that many role models up there,
Yes.
end up behaving more like men and forget their feminine energy. So it's always that balance. Huh? That's interesting.
It's true, because they say, either you have too much masculine energy, and they say, oh, you're too bossy, and you're too like that, or you're not. And actually, men find that too. Men find if they don't have enough of the masculine qualities that are supposedly sought after in top leadership, they're people talk about them as well. And both ways, if they have the feminine qualities, so it's both men and women have to face that. It's just that it's more for women, because men seem to naturally a lot of times possess those qualities.
Yeah, and of course, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
and of course the professional world has been created by men.
Yes.
So of course you have all those male needs and expectations, that therefore we tend to believe we have to have those in place, which is not necessarily the case.
Yes.
So it's also finding that other balance, a lot of balance for everything, in fact.
It's true. And especially, when women, my clients who have kids, it's very hard to balance being in leadership and the children at the same time, and family life. So yes, it is. It's all about balance.
It's all about balance. Yeah, exactly. So let's come back to you, and your journey. So once you had your role, identified what you wanted, be completely in alignment, and etc. From that place, what would you see is your biggest plural success?
Wow. From the time I decided to biggest success. Well, I just recently, 2 weeks ago, I had a big launch party, because I've rebranded just earlier this month. And I thought to myself, somebody said it as just an off comment, oh, you should have a party. And I thought, actually, yes, all these years of, the years I spent in the corporate jobs that I just did not like, and I didn't realize, what it was about them that I didn't like, all the years that I spent training and all the education I've had, and all the years I spent, struggling and getting my business up and running, I thought, yes, this is a good point to stop and smell the roses and have a party to celebrate. So it was an amazing feeling to do that, to actually say, okay, now I can stop, because as you know, when you're running your business, there doesn't come a point when you feel like you want to stop. It's more like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And so it felt very good to just stop and do that. So I would say that one of the biggest things that I've done for myself was to stop and actually I did an accelerated program for the business, and I gave that to myself as a gift. I got to go to Bali and I had mentors every single day working on different aspects of my business, and that's helped me to no end, and it's made the business better, and it's made it so that I can serve my clients in a much more effective way than even before. So I guess one of the successes is to do that, to look at the business, to dissect it, and to put it back together again. That was one of the biggest things. And I've started my private business, my private practice earlier this year as well, which I didn't have. So far I've been coaching as an associate with a big consultancy. That was one of my big successes.
Good for you. And I love that you say also success for me, because that's another one that we tend to forget.
Yes.
So what I like also, and I'm conscious of time here, but I like the name of your business also, the Suparna Way.
Thank you.
What is the Suparna Way?
Well, the Suparna Way is it's the model is all about strengths, values, and what's at the core. And for me, whenever I work with my clients, I always obviously focus on work on their strengths and to demonstrate their values. And for me, what really is important is what's really lies in your core, and what the why you're doing something. And especially when people come and say, well, I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to do this or that? And really connecting people to their whys is a really big thing. And it's something that, people don't spend time thinking about, because we spend time thinking about how to make things happen. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? The why doesn't really ever come into play. So 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 I like to focus in on the core as well. And so the Suparna Way is about getting to that core, and that to me it's like a heart-shaped thing. And from that comes everything else. And for me, it's also about the Suparna Way is about being really genuine to who you are, and whatever that might mean to you. And if it means going to the place you want to go, the higher up in leadership, or if it means maybe taking a step down, that's okay. But you've got to be true to who you are, and to really feel that resonance. So that knowing that energy feels like you're going with it, or does it feel like you're pushing against?
Yeah.
So it's about learning to recognize that as well.
Beautiful. Now I know why you were recommended to me, and I do confirm that it's all music to my ears.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, alignment. The core of my work, I've developed a whole framework, but the core of it is personal branding, and personal branding is all about aligning and authenticity, etc. So yes, that's absolutely vital. It's foundational. It's foundational. It's your spine.
It is.
So yeah, beautiful. So tell us where people can find you.
Well, my website is called www.suparnaway.com. I'm on Facebook as The Suparna Way, and so you can find me there too. And on LinkedIn, of course, is Suparna Malhotra is my name. So definitely come onto my website and sign up for my mailing list. And I send out a weekly inspiration email, so you'll be receiving that too if you sign up. And I have a wonderful event coming up on 19th of October, if I may say. It's called Rise with Confidence, and it's a breakfast for professional women or men who are wanting to get to the top. And I've got an amazing guest speaker who's Dame Fiona Wolf. She's the first female lawyer to make partner in England. That's only one of her amazing pieces of her biography. I mean, she was the first Lord Mayor in hundreds of years, as well as a woman too. So she's an incredible woman, and she's going to be speaking. And it's at the Delani. So that's 19th of October. And all the proceeds go to the charity that I'm a trustee for, which is a school for girls in India called Pardada Pardadi. So definitely find some information on my website about that.
Beautiful. So they find information about the event and about the charity all on your website, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes,
excellent. So one topic we haven't touched is this how do you call it in English? A weak spot, I think it is. All about women and violence, and tell us more about the things you're involved in.
Right. Well, that is
not much time left, but I'd be interested.
That's a long topic. Basically, I guess the crux of the matter is, I come from India. I was born in Delhi, and my parents still live there, but they live in a town called Gurgaon. In 2012, there was a very high media case of a girl that was gang raped on a bus, and she was murdered, basically.
Yeah, I remember.
And that of course, sends shockwaves everywhere. It made me feel, I was in New York at the time, it made me feel very, very, very upset that something like that could happen in our world. And it was in an area, it could have been me, it could have been, it could have been anyone. It was a horrific thing. And so I wanted to find out how can I stop this from happening? Why does it happen? Why would these guys do that? So I started the podcast, which I interviewed people on a monthly basis, people involved in different areas of gender-based violence. It could be domestic violence. I had men on there who dealt with masculinity. What is masculinity all about? I had a wonderful man from it slipped my mind, that I talked about masculinity as well, that works for a charity. And so it's on my other website, which is called thegentleworld.com. And it's all about creating a gentle world of gentlemen and gentle ladies. And how can we live together and not have to go towards this violence? And so this is how I discovered that, there's so many reasons, of course, but one of them being this huge inequality that exists in our world. So that's that was my involvement. And the School for Girls is incredible. We educate very, very poor girls in the poorest part of northern India, of a state called Uttar Pradesh. And it started out 16 years ago. The man that founded it, Sam Singh, used to be the CEO of DuPont Asia in the States. He retired. came back and saw the children who didn't go to school and decided to build a school for them. And it's been great because over the last years, they've really seen a change in the culture of the villages, and the fact that the girls are now allowed to go to school is amazing. The girls are developing, we give them jobs as well. And so they get to be empowered, independent girls when they grow up. And it just changes, poverty, where does it come from? If you see, if a mother is educated, her children will be educated. So it's it's a chain reaction, but it's one of my very dear to me, this cause as well. So.
Beautiful. I can definitely see that this is an interview that could go on for hours.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we don't have that time. So thank you so much for your time and for having shared all of this with us. So for the viewers, if you want to take your business to the next level, or if you want to make sure that you have a more meaningful, purposeful life, and that all of that ties in beautifully so that you do have a life and a business that work together, you can contact me on my website, and that is agnesvanrijn.com, and so the usual 3 W's and then ANYESVANRHIJN.com. I had a doubt. How did I pronounce that? RHIJN.com. So thank you again, Suparna. And
thank you so much for having me.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.